iCloud. Cool, recording in progress. We got everybody, yay. And then I'm going to share my screen. Share screen, start broadcast.
There you go, I see it.
Okay, okay. Cool, you guys see everything? Okay, yep. So I'm gonna talk while I'm getting my video up. So today we went to a synagogue. It was kind of cool. And we have the YouTube video of us in the synagogue. And it actually wasn't in the sanctuary this time. This is more for Sean's benefit because there was everybody else. So it was called Central Synagogue. It was really cool. We were in the pavilion, which is downstairs. And so it's talking about Moses rebuking the Israelites because they were going to take over Canaan. They're going to go to war, go to battle to get the promised land. And this was in Deuteronomy. It was a rehashing of what happened in Numbers. And so this is kind of related to James 3, which is what we're talking about now, where we're talking about half the chapter is, what do you call it? Watching your tongue, being careful with your tongue and watching your words and stuff. So I picked a portion of the video. I texted myself, here it is. I texted myself where to start it. A minute, I think it was a minute, an hour 45. Because it was talking about, yeah.
At it, and I found you guys at like 1 hour, 15 minutes or something. That's
yeah,
when I first noticed that you were in the crowd.
Yeah, so it's right after this girl, I don't remember, Katrina, right after she talks.
Them.
They're going to listen about 5 minutes.
It can be a constructive conversation, a positive conversation, or you're moving in the right direction.
And that all comes from relationship. It's one feeds the other. Katrina, thank you. And Helene.
Wow, I didn't realize there were so many.
You know, I think that respectful and honest critique, and I think I'm very purposely switching to critique rather than rebuke, is a form of, it's a form of engagement, and it's a form of a commitment to a relationship. When someone does something or says something and, that I'm, troubled by, and I say whatever, that indicates that I'm not really invested. But when I will sort of think about how to give feedback, that means that I really care about that person and about my relationship with that person. And I'm willing to work for that relationship. And within the context of Moses, it might be, it's worth thinking about that he's actually engaging with the Israelites here, rather than at times just falling on his face and saying, God, what do I do with these people? So, I think it's probably worth thinking about, comparing this to some other responses that Moses has given.
Helene, thank you. And thank you for reminding us of this wider context of Moses' life and his experience and relationship with the Israelite people. Another comment here in the room.
So I listened to the parasha at the beginning of the discussion and asked myself, so what do I take from this into my own life? And I struggled with that. It wasn't clear to me what the relevance of the parasha might be. But the other readings that you've selected here and the discussion this morning, I think, have answered that question. And among other things I'll take away from this is that words matter. The spirit and motivation behind the words matter. And that I need to make sure that in speaking to people in my personal life and professional life, because life is all of a whole cloth. There's no difference. That there's a need to be restorative and caring, and not just indignant or other destructive motivation. So thank you for the selections and for guiding the discussion.
Thank you. Any final thoughts in this room? We have 3 more comments here in this room. You're next.
Building on what so many people have said, the idea that the motivation behind the words is important, and trust and course correction, a lot of those things. It's important, I think, to remember, too, that Moses is looking at what's going to be happening soon. Either they're going to go into the promised land without him, or they're just going to languish there forever and die out, right? And he has no choice. So he has to really motivate these people in whatever way he can think of to do this, to be mature, to trust each other, to build community, all this stuff. So that's the motivation behind the rebuke, but it also has to give them all that stuff he knows. It's do or die.
Yeah. And he wants them to do. He cares. He cares about the outcome for this people.
I think in this case, Moses feels like he's done so much for the Jewish people, and he's led them through desert, and he's led them through miles and miles and miles of desert year after year after year. But the Jews, they fetch a lot, and they keep fetching and fetching.
Oh, how they do.
And he's like, and he just has all this emotion building up in him, and he's tried to stop it, more calmly, and he's slowly getting a little bit more, annoyed at it, because he's like, I'm doing so much for you. Why do you have to fetch at me and find new things to fetch about? Mm-hmm. So he has all this emotion built up in him, and the rebuke kind of explodes in it. Yeah. So is it Moses' fault that he, really puts it out in a much more angrily way than most people than maybe should have been done? I think not, because he's tried multiple different ways to explain to them, and he just ends up and he's just like, dude, I've done, I've given so much for you. I've led you years and years and years through desert, and you're just fetching about different things, and whenever I solve one thing, you fetch about a different thing,
So hold on to the mic, because I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. Do you think Moses still cares about the people, or has the annoyance outweighed his care for them?
I think he still cares about them, but I'm going to use a modern day example here. If a parent tries to tell a child to not do something, eventually the parent is going to blow up because, if
the child keeps doing it.
Yes, because she's tried asking the nice way. She's tried asking, maybe I'll take, maybe like positive reinforcements, negative reinforcements. She still cares about the child, but she's just annoyed because she's asked so many different ways and tried so many different, styles of
approaches,
enforcement, and won't do it.
But you think there's still care there, just
There's
like a parent?
There's still care there. Okay. If there wasn't care there, then she wouldn't be asking him or her to do these things, and just, because she really cares about his future and
him being better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that was it. That was like awesome.
Yeah, that little blurb about does he still care? Well, yeah, obviously. Otherwise, he wouldn't be involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I understood what he was trying to say. He was trying to say, Moses is probably, more stern with them than he usually is right now, because, he's human. He has a limited amount of patience. And he was saying that he kind of feels like Moses was hitting his limit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you know the story?
But it took him like 5 minutes to say that, though.
Yeah, he's
Kids
like what,
10.
9, 10? Well,
Yeah.
he's very well spoken for his age.
Well, he's very clear, but
Dude.
it also feels like what I believe I sound like. It's like you could have said that in 10 words.
I
but
like
then
that he added the dude in the middle.
Exactly.
That was the whole emphasis.
Yeah.
Like he was getting all like Moses is feeling a little look side to side, a little
Because how old is Moses during this story?
Oh, he's
How old?
old, way
Like
old.
300 or
Because he was
something.
a shepherd for 40 years,
Generations old.
hundreds of years, because he
Yeah.
already grew up as an adult in Egypt. And he was a shepherd for 40 years.
And so wait, is he leading the Israelites back into Egypt?
No,
Is that
because the
what's going
people
on?
are like, okay, so what the setting is
Yeah.
he picked the tribal leaders. There's 12 tribes, the 12 sons of Abraham, right? There's
Yeah.
and each there's 12 tribes, and he's showing all these 12 tribes, okay, you're out of Egypt now, right? We are
Yeah.
going to the promised land. We've got Joseph's bones, so that's the promise that we're going there, because we said we bury him there, and God said that was going to happen. So they're at the border of Canaan. And so he's like, okay, the tribal leader of all you tribes, there's 12 of you, except the Levite tribe. So, whatever, there's a special ward Levite that goes as a spy to Canaan. And they're like, Moses gives them like certain criteria. Tell me what the country is like. Tell me what the people like. Tell me what the food is like. Tell me if it's fortified. Like the walls, the water, the fruit, bring me back grapes. What is the milk and honey? This is supposed to be the land of milk and honey. And that's attributed to evidence of not literal milk and honey, but agriculture and wheat, right? Is just, can you grow stuff there? What's the land like? Is it good or bad? So they go for 40 days, right? And this is the story of Rahab. Rahab is the one that actually helps some of the spies, right? So they're there for 40 days, and they come back. 10 of them report to the Israelites and Moses. They're like, dude, we can't do this. It takes 2 of us to carry a group of grapes. The people are giants. We cannot do this. This is crazy. It's better to be in Egypt. Even though we were slaves, we're going to die in the desert. Why'd you bring us out here? Right? And so Jacob and who is it? Caleb and Joshua are like, we got this. God has our back. We can do this. Right? And so Moses is like, why is only 2 of you? You're the strongest, smartest guys. Why are the 2 of you, only 2 of you, able to do this? How come only 2 of you have faith in God that we can do this? And the other 10 are like, I don't know. It's just the way it is. It's just too scary. We can't do it. And so Moses is. Yeah. So Moses is like,
It would have been a little less awkward if there was more people there for me to ask that. You know what I mean?
You're
So,
good.
thank you.
Yeah, you're good. He's just sleepy.
That's what I do when I think I want everybody else. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's on a floor,
So Moses is all upset. Right?
So that's all.
Thank you. You too.
I keep mine with
Should you? Yeah, totally. So Moses is like, come on, you guys. And like, not just the 10 guys, he was talking to the Israelites too, because they're all agreeing, like, we can't do this, Moses. What's wrong with you? And so that's where they were discussing the conversation. Like, did Moses rebuke them in a healthy way or an unhealthy way? So that's what the setting is. So yeah.
The spies were burdened with success. I mean, they probably didn't need to bring that many grapes.
Yeah, well, they just brought the picture in the Bible. The picture Bible is like one bunch of grapes for like 2 people to carry. So, but yeah, that's supposedly how big it was and how big deal it was. And then they eventually got it. It was like, and so the reason Moses was upset was because he knew God would be upset. and he gives righteous consequences and righteous punishment to people who kvetch, as the kid said, right? Complain. So God's like, okay, since you guys don't have faith in yourself, you don't have faith in me, you're going to wander in the wilderness the wrong direction for 40 years for each day that your spies were in the promised land. They were freaking there. They were there. You guys just have to have faith that you can do this, that I can help you do this, right? And how many of us are on this precipice or on the border or on the cusp of something good, something amazing, right? And then we're like, no, I can't do this. Can any of you think of a time where you're like right on the edge of like, I want to, I think I can, but like, and then you like scare yourself?
Every time I try to make something, basically, because I have problems with like, oh, I want to make a cool thing, but then my idea about making things, I also deal with, I'm forgetting the word, I deal with, I'm driven by particular design, but I worry about not deciding, indecision.
Mm-hmm. So what are you doubting when you have a lack of decision or an indecision? Are you doubting yourself? Are you doubting your emotion? Are you doubting your time, your capabilities, your interests?
Like I really want this particular design to happen, but because it's so particular, it makes me think that for like 90% of the other stuff to be in the natural groove, to be it'll come that way. For that extra little movement space for my indecision, I wanted to. There are little doubt areas where it feels like, well, maybe it could be different in one way or in a slightly different way. So where it comes with that variance, that's where I don't know what to do with. Like I want it to be that much better.
Yeah. Well, there could be different designs where you just go with it until it's like that's the way it's going to be. But you could also have different variations, but lock one in. When you're happy with that one, just know that you can have another variation right next to it too. So at least you complete one, right? And then you could have 3 complete designs and you're like, cool, there you go. I got 3 complete designs, right? Because there's not just one iPhone. They keep improving on it or changing it, right? Maybe improving it, maybe not, right? Like they don't have, you can't stick headphones in it anymore, but you've got AirPods now, right? So is that improvement? Is that not, right? So, but that's not an indecision. That is a decision with a yearly change, right?
Yeah.
So someone had to decide to go with no headphone plug, right? And it's okay because it's different now the next year, and that's the way they wanted to do it. So it's okay to just pick a direction and do it, finish it.
Yeah, to commit because it won't be finished in the way I fear. I just end up dropping the whole idea to deal with. Because it could be like 90 something, it can be almost done, but it's not quite like fully detailed in specific stuff. So it makes me want to quit the whole thing. Like, you know what, it's not going to be how I like it in the end. I just want to leave it alone for now on.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to go into James chapter 3 now on my phone. Whoops, I don't want to leave Bible Gateway. You don't have an app for that? You don't need an app. Just go to BibleGateway.com.
I mean, I just forgot that I did. I'm like, man, how am I supposed to? Oh, wait a minute. I have like player or something.
James 3. Okay, so taming the tongue, which I like that I had something different from Monday. As Dad was saying, it's more like the brand, right? Jewish stuff is better than Mel Robbins swearing. Right? But it takes a biblical character and then analyzing how he talks and our impression. Maybe he did just fine, right? We have words. I could read Deuteronomy 1 and we can tear it apart. But the gist is he spoke harshly. We got it great from the kid. He spoke harshly for a reason, right? So taming the tongue, James chapter 3. Not many of you should become teachers, my fellow believers, because you know that we who teach will be judged more strictly. We all stumble in many ways. Anyone who is never at fault and what they say is perfect, able to keep their whole body in check. Okay, so even Moses, he's not literally a teacher, he's a Levite, right? He's the guy that goes between the nation of Israel and God, right? So he's not technically a teacher, but he's a leader, right? And did he make mistakes? Yes, because he wasn't even allowed in the promised land, right? And it wasn't just one thing, but it was a big thing. He was held to a higher standard, right? Leaders are held to higher standards. And God told him one time to hit the rock. Another time God said to speak to the rock to get the water out. And so he didn't listen. And then God's like, okay, dude, like this kid said, dude, you're supposed to do it the way I told you to do it, not hit it. That other time I told you to hit it. This time I said, speak to it. It's not about a magic trick. It's about you representing me and the way I say to do it. Right. So that's how close Moses was supposed to be to God, representing Israelites. They were supposed to be close to God. Right. And even us. It's not about making yourself look like a magician. It's about following what you know God told you to do and how to do something. Verse 3. When we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal, right? Or take ships, for example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder, wherever the pilot wants it to go. So, likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. Oh, by the way, that reminds us. I just put it on record. Bryce saved the Independence Mall today. He saw would you want to tell the story, Bryce?
Yeah, when we were walking back from the Liberty Bell, there was a cigarette on the grass. Somebody just like flung it onto the grass, and it was still smoking. And I was like, you don't, yeah, but you don't do that. So I stomped it out and I saved America. You're welcome. Yeah. Mom, I think got a little picture of me doing that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any smoke, but you see me stomping something out on the grass.
Yeah. Yeah, I got as fast as I could. So yeah. So that's important. Likewise, the tongue, I'll go back to verse 5 and then we'll talk about it. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. Holy craziness. That's a lot of hefty stuff there. So it goes along with the other Bible verse that says the heart is deceitful above all things. Who can know it? And the tongue, as we know, we can hurt each other so quick. We can say something. It's not just what we say, it's the words, it's the intonation, it's the volume, it's the body language that goes with it, it's the context in which we say something, it's just the speed in which we speak, the intensity. It's like, so there's so many categories of speaking and all these characteristics of speaking that isn't just a word or a phrase. It's all these other dynamics that go into the tongue and what we say, that we can harm somebody or uplift somebody, right?
I think the Bible is telling us to take our tongue out.
Take our tongue out?
Yeah.
Okay. Do it.
Because the tongue is the tongue is evil.
Well, they used to do that. They used to. That was a natural consequence to sinning. You know, you lose the body part that does the sinning. You lose a hand if you steal, you know, in the extreme situations, you know, or they take your tongue out if you lie enough, you know. I think the Catholic Church did that a lot.
Yeah. I almost feel that way. But then again, it kind of seems like you're taking so much away from the body, you might as well just take away the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
Full
Yeah.
execution, immolation,
Yeah.
nothing
But
left.
that's
But
just
then again, why would they
mutilation,
care
right?
so much?
Well, because the lawmakers are like, this is the way society needs to be, right? The people that are tyrannical, that's what they do. It's just like, you speak against me, I'm gonna do this to you as evidence that I'm more powerful than you. You're not more powerful than me, right? That's why they do it.
And this was before the whole, like the world kingdom decided that everyone else under them would become the court jester. Because before, the jester had a very particular privilege about like, haha, I made jokes about the king, and then everyone would laugh. But then, but no one else could do that and point such things out. And then now all the commoners became the jesters, so that's pretty cool. That's where the First Amendment came from. But then this is also my problem, where with the Bible, it threatens you with hell, and is itself set on fire by hell, the body and the tongue.
Say that again.
And you are also threatened by hell. The whole course of one's life on fire and is set on fire by hell.
Yeah. It's set on fire by hell, as in terms of, it says evil things.
Yeah, it corrupts
right?
the whole
That's
body.
where the fire comes from.
Stuff like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's figurative fire, right? When you're on fire, like, oh my gosh, you're so amazing, you're on fire. This is a negative fire, right? You know, you're so harmful. You burn things, you harm your soul, you harm the soul of the person you're speaking to or the people that hear you. You know, it's just, be careful, right? Like we were talking about, the verse was talking about, was Moses. It said, watch out for trafficking in slander. It was one of the verses that we are looking at today. I think it was in Leviticus. I didn't keep the paper. I should have. The order of service.
Trafficking and slander. Because I also remember the whatever, was it Moses that had the slate, the tablets?
Yeah.
One of them
he destroyed
was
them.
not stealing, but one of them was apparently in the old translation. One was kidnapping. So then that also reminded me about trafficking and slander.
Yeah. So
bearing false witness.
Yeah. So that's very vivid language. Don't traffic and slander. Rebuke. And then is Moses showing vengeance, right? That was one of the questions. Was he slandering? And we were discussing in the synagogue today, no, it wasn't slander. He wasn't saying bad things to destroy the Israelites. It was actually rebuking, which sounds like a bad word, but it's not, right? It's speaking truth in order to help someone be better, right? It just, for some reason, rebuke sounds like a harsh thing, like you're not constructively criticizing. But we just have to learn that rebuking is constructive. One thing I was going to mention there, but I didn't, was there's a verse that mentions wise people love rebuke, and they will listen to rebuke, and fools hate rebuke because they don't want to be. They hate it. They don't want to be corrected in any way. They don't want to be told they're wrong. They don't want to be showed in any way that maybe they should think a little bit differently. So they hate rebuke. But wisdom comes from listening to rebuke, and wise people appreciate it because it's shared in a way where both sides understand we have a trusting relationship. I'm not saying something to hurt you. I'm actually saying something to help you and help our relationship, right? So that was kind of the whole point. And then the scripture, James 3, is all about how do we speak better? You know, how do we not start a forest fire in someone else's mind or heart or soul, right? And the second half talks about wisdom too, right? It's about correcting in a positive way. And even if someone does say something in a harsh way, can you trust that person or believe that person? And understand the spirit in which they talk. Have you ever had to trust that even though someone said something a little harshly, that you understood they didn't mean anything bad by it?
Yeah, though I usually would put myself down for getting in trouble, sort of. It's like, dang, I kind of like already know, but then like you're already pointing out what I already felt, and then it kind of hurts to hear it. So I get it, but dang it, why am I in this situation I cursed myself with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's the hardest thing to do. Okay, yeah, someone said something mean, but can you see past? I get it. They said it a little harsh, but I get it because we do have such a close relationship. I get what they're trying to say. So I hope, number one, what?
Trey's commenting on the ice cream truck that is a completely different
Yeah,
style. Yeah.
yeah, that's funny. It's loud. That's the loud music. It's an ice cream truck. So if we, number one, try to be careful with what we say when we want to correct somebody. That's number one. Don't just blindly expect people to just take what you say, right?
Yeah.
But number one is be careful, right? In what you say and how you say it, right? With all those characteristics of volume, speed, intensity, words that you use, being clear, all that stuff. Public or private, right? All those characteristics and the body language, we have to be careful. Number one, be careful of all those things. And number two, when you're on the receiving end, you have to take your whole relationship into context and be like, are they meaning to hurt me or are they meaning to help me? And that will help you receive the message. And then you can ask clarifying questions. That way you can respond more carefully, and then the conversation doesn't get into, starting a fire, right? A forest fire in the family or between friends or whatever.
It doesn't get drowned down by the literal, because sometimes I have trouble with that.
So Bryce thinks he got bit by something.
Oh, I totally did. Let me show you. While I've been sitting on the bench, I got bit by like 2 mosquitoes.
I didn't even feel those. I didn't have any.
Here, I got a little bump there.
Wow.
Now,
Nothing right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just now.
I didn't know there are mosquitoes out here.
Yeah, I was showing Troy's mosquitoes.
Oh, that's so funny.
You guys are lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a bunch of mosquitoes there.
Oh, do you want to move over here?
There's a bunch of mosquitoes outside in Philadelphia.
I don't feel it. Yeah. So yeah, it corrupts. Let's see. You
Hey,
are.
Bryce, you're causing feedback. You're too close. Can you
just scoot
sit next to the
over-
mosquitoes over here? Just sit next to
over
the
there.
mosquitoes.
Scoot over there, next to the newspaper. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Verse 7. All kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, and sea creatures are being tamed and have been tamed by mankind, right? Like, what animals have we tamed, do you think? Just shout them out.
Chicken especially, because it was not the dominant bird by being tough. It was because we willed them to be that popular.
Okay.
The most successful bird. We also eat them too, so they're pretty cool.
Bryce, I can see your legs. There you are. So what other animals? What animals? Dogs. There's actually a dog out here. Seems pretty tame on a leash. Owls, maybe. Some owls have been tamed. Pigeons, homing pigeons.
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
Swearing cockatiel.
Oh, what? Cockatiel?
Yeah.
What reptiles have we tamed?
Snakes.
What? I heard two at once. Sean, what?
Snakes.
Snakes.
No
Okay.
step on snake.
Yeah.
Snake. What other? Oh, like geckos or basically anything really.
Hmm.
I guess anything not from Australia, which would be filled with like major
Yeah.
toxic venom.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything not from Australia, we pretty much got down like
Yeah.
beasts of burden, like
Yeah.
oxen and big stuff like that.
What about sea creatures? What sea creatures have we tamed? Or are they just calm by nature? Are there any sea creatures that we
Oh,
actually tame?
capybara are ones that swim and are mammals or marsupials, but because they were not preyed upon, they are basically like chill.
Hmm.
They seem to have like no flight or flight situations, just like, yeah, I'm here. They're like
Yeah.
the hippie animal.
Yeah, exactly. I like capybara. I don't know of any that we've tamed. I mean, we've trained dolphins, right? And to do silly tricks and stuff, but I don't know that we've actually tamed any sea creatures. Like sharks are sharks. They're always going to have this interest in eating what they eat, right?
Yeah, maybe not trained or even tamed, but there's been familiarity between
Yeah.
this octopus and this diver, as the story
Yeah.
apparently goes.
Uh-huh.
They would come by like every some time, like every couple months or years, and then the octopus just got too old and died. But it would specifically chase after this one diver. So the story goes.
Yeah.
So there were at least certain alliances. Geckos, Komodo dragons, I guess. Oh, foxes for some reason.
Yeah. Okay. We were pausing because the bell was dinging 8 times. It's a known thing that people like to hear bells. And so bell was chiming
Sorry.
8 times for the clock because it's 8 o'clock. So we were pausing for that because Dad tried to record it at 7. And so now we're like, we get the 8 o'clock bells. It's so cool.
Oh yeah, that's right. It is 5 here. Yeah, 3 away.
Yeah.
I almost did like reverse math to be like, oh, okay, so it's at 4, so that means it's 1 here. Okay. But no, that would have been like way further.
Yeah, it would have been weird that way.
Yeah,
so cool.
that's why I
so,
never passed math.
Yeah. So we did the taming. But no human, verse 8. Let's see. 8. But no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil full of deadly poison. And this is such a negative message about people, right?
I don't like how they say evil.
What?
I don't like how they say evil.
Evil? It's they're not talking about little white lies. They're talking about serious. There's just disgusting things that people can say about other people. You know, there's vulgarity, there's ruining someone's reputation, you know, there's selling people, you know, doing business in just very shady ways, right? There's just awful things you can say to people just to destroy their soul, you know. And I think that's really what they're talking about. It's not just, you know, little small things, you know, it's they're talking real evil, right? Where you destroy people over and over and over and over, and then they feel like they want to just hide. And there are people that are like that, you know.
I think James just had a nasty boss.
Maybe
as usual. Somehow they sass everybody to be under them.
Yeah, well, he lived in a very tough time, right? He was alive under the Roman Empire, right? And they crucified people for fun. You know, they had gladiators and stuff in the Roman Empire. So this is the history he was living with. Jews were being tortured. You know, the Romans were just disgusting. Imagine the sporting events that they had wasn't soccer with a soccer ball, it was soccer with a Christian's head. You know, that's
Right.
the brutality that they lived with back then, right? You know, the Romans crucified people along the public roads. You know, that's just what they did. You know, Herod, you know, looking for Jesus. Every little kid under the age of 2, because they didn't know how old Jesus was, go kill him, go find him. Soldiers, go find him. Midwives, go find the babies, you know? And so the women actually lied, right? They didn't go kill them. Some of them were like, oh, sorry, we can't kill them before they're born or when they first come out, because the Jewish women, they just pop them out before we get there, you know? And then they don't say they kill them all, surprisingly. They say, sorry, they just get born, can't do anything about it, you know? So it's just kind of interesting. So
The tongue is restless with evil, full
Yeah.
with lies.
yeah, full of lies. Yeah, poison, deadly poison. You know, we all have probably said or heard things, whether in person or in movies, where just people just say the most vicious, disgusting things, right? And so that's what James is talking about, is all throughout humanity. In his time, he knows it. In our time, we know it. You know, with all of our technology, we should be able to tame the tongue, but we can't.
No, we just have to prove everybody wrong.
Exactly. Verse 9. With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse human beings. Right? We're hypocritical, who have been made in God's likeness,
Nothing.
right? So we tear down
There's no
people.
bathroom here. Nope.
We tear down people, right? And we shouldn't. Everyone is made just under the angels. It's just a matter of who accepts it, who believes it, right? People may behave a certain way, and that tempts us to react in a bad way instead of responding in a healthy way. If we respected people and acted as if everyone was respected and respectful, then it would help uplift everybody, right? But we don't. For whatever reason, we snap too easily. We get too annoyed. It's too hot, too cold, so we just snap, or our head hurts and we snap. Okay, so you guys can go do what you need to do. Troy just needs to pause and go do something. I don't know if the visitor center is open, but you can try to find something. So we're gonna almost be done here in a few minutes. They're gonna mute, do what they need to do. We're gonna keep talking. Yeah. So yeah, there's hypocritical stuff, and we all know hypocritical people. Like, they're like, praise God. Oh, you suck. You know, we know people like that. Verse 10, out of the same mouth come praise and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this should not be. Like, come on, people. Can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? I love his analogies. They're very modern. Even though it's from back then, we still understand what he's saying. My brothers and sisters, can a fig tree bear olives or a grapevine bear figs? Neither can a salt spring produce fresh water. I mean, what other analogies can you think of?
Well, I'd imagine about the contrary being that it could flow to the same spring at different times in year or something. Like one empties, the other comes in, I guess. I don't know. But then that also reminds me about, like, what is it, the bull shark or something, where it somehow reverses the osmosis. So it can be both from the salt water and then go into the fresh water, like rivers. Pretty weird. But another thing is that bear is an accent for fruit. So grapevine, fruit fig. But anything like that, one being the opposite, I don't know.
It's kind of like putting two ridiculous things together. Like, they just don't work. It's just like, duh. You can't kill somebody and raise them to life at the same time. It doesn't work. You know, you can't say loving things and then say hateful things and make them like you. It's like
key without the lock, I guess, or something.
You can't serve them rotten fish and good sauce, you know, and expect them to enjoy the food. I mean, that's gross, right? And
Isn't that what the first sauce was made for, though?
I guess, yeah. You know, it's like opposites. You know, you can't put a mean person and a nice person together and expect the relationship to work. You know, both people need to work at the relationship. You know, one person can't be blind and say the relationship is good when one of them is totally a diagnosed narcissist, you know, narcissistic, whatever. You know, it's just, it doesn't work. It's not really healthy. You know,
Like
you
one
can't have,
being is settled, one feeling settled, the other feeling like in constant like renewing and going through extra stuff. It's like, why are you always changing and why does the other one never change? It's like, how can you ever be like content?
Yeah, exactly.
There's always friction.
Yeah. Two kinds of wisdom is the second half. Verse 13. Verse 12. Yeah, 13. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in the humility that comes from wisdom. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such quote unquote wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. Right? He's talking with real strong language. He's not talking about little piddly white lies. He's talking about serious stuff. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice. I mean, they're talking extreme stuff, right? These are brand new Christians. These are people that are church leaders. These are people that are responsible for guiding a new religion, right? And they need to have wisdom. You know, it's like what I said about wisdom earlier. The wise person loves rebuke. You know, a fool hates rebuke, right? So that's what, and wisdom is a female. It guides everyone's life. You know, like a ship, it's considered a female. It nurtures and it cares for the soldiers or the sailors or the pirates, right? Those things take care of and house the men, so to speak. And wisdom is more important. You'll see it in the Proverbs. Wisdom is something to value higher than jewels, higher than gold, higher than silver, right? So that's the power of wisdom. And to us, I think we try to seek smarts over wisdom, book knowledge over wisdom, because that's what is valued, I think, in our society. Because wisdom, we don't even say the word. You know, it's very strange to say, I want to be wise when I grow up. You know, people say, oh, I want to be smart. I want to make a lot of money. It's a little different mindset, right? But in order to be successful, the real successful people are wise, right? We were talking about this earlier. I texted it to the group where you were talking about Oppenheimer, and I responded to the Oppenheimer. It's science-based fact that people who are brainiacs, very scientific, totally into engineering, book smart, they tend to feed that side of their brain. And the other side of the brain is empathy and warmth and emotional high EQ. So typically if you feed the EQ, you may not be a brainiac. You could still be smart, but you still are very conscientious about how people not think about you. It's not about their opinion of you, but it's about your connection with people.
And the movie portrayed him as someone that was trying to care, but then he was caring about too many people at like inopportune times. So it's sort of like upsetting everything. So whatever. And even then, I kind of feel like that part did not really matter, but that's probably me just wanting the bomb part in the movie to happen.
Yeah. Well, that's what he was filling his head with. His time is was the science, right?
Yeah, he's very good at science.
Important.
Yeah, he's very good at counting, but then when it came to like people, he was sort of like over and underachieving at the same time. It's just like too much in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Where there's plenty, but just not where it needs to be.
Yeah, yeah. So if people want book knowledge, like how many people do you know that have book knowledge but are also amazing people? You know,
Both bookworm and street smarts. Man,
yeah.
that's
Do you know anyone?
effective and practical. I don't know. There are so many people that I personally know that tend to get in trouble by overdoing things
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard if you
without
can't name
meaning
someone.
to. Yeah, no.
Now, who can you name that has a higher EQ than an IQ? Who can you name?
E over I.
They're better emotional partners. They're more mature emotionally. Maybe they're not the smartest person in the room, but they are empathetic.
Oh dang! I think Mitty left. Oh, I meant to say bye to her because she was leaving like 10 minutes ago for her shift at 5. I meant to say bye, but whatever. I kind of don't remember any doors open, but I don't know. She could be
Okay.
getting ready. Anyway, because I say that because I was about to say before you said emotional maturity, I was going to say Trinity because she wanted to be like witnessed by people, but I don't know about like grades and stuff. But I don't know.
Yeah. A high EQ
When you talk about
is one who's
maturity,
mature.
I'll throw it
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Not out of
For
control.
me, I'd rather have my kid be more filled by the heart than filled by like the bottom line. I gotta figure out how to be smart, outsmart everybody. But I'd rather they be more kind and gentle than I'm the biggest brain in the room. I'm the most impressive person ever, even though they are. That kind of would cause them to throw people away. Anyone in reality for me to name, I'm without the memory.
Yeah. So okay, let's risk it here and just talk about each other.
I couldn't give I over E nor E over I. I just don't know anybody, or at least currently not willing to throw anybody under the bus.
Okay, I want to expose each other. Okay, there's only
Bryce
3
is
of
more
us
EQ.
here.
Bryce is very
Bryce is more
feeling.
EQ?
He's more EQ. Yeah, he's very much into it. He's much more social than me.
Okay, so how about me? Do you think I'm more EQ or IQ?
I'm trying to not take too long because I know whichever answer I give, I would feel within myself pressure to explain.
Well, think about it this way, Sean. Taking a longer time to answer just means you're more thoroughly thinking out the question, which shows that you care.
Oh, so does me being aware about your fears, does that make me more IQ or EQ?
More EQ. More EQ. If you're concerned about my feelings.
I think a good way to explain it simply, Sean, if you don't know, if you're more sympathetic or like understanding of how other people feel, you're more EQ. Like if you know how to talk to people and appeal to their emotions, you're more EQ. If you're smart and you know how to you know how conversation works, like structured wise, you're more IQ. IQ is like you're more up here. EQ is you're more like out here. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's sort of a vague way to describe it. Dad would explain it better, but you get the idea.
I'm just having difficulty like trying to figure out a difference in saying like they're both resonance.
They're equal. Okay.
Yeah, everybody has both, but there's some people who definitely, if you were to put it on a scale, there's some people that are more IQ than EQ and vice versa.
He just doesn't want to say about me.
I would say, Mom, and I'll answer this for me too. Knockout.
Me too, because you were trying to be helpful.
I would say Mom and I are both more EQ than IQ.
Yeah,
both
because she's done music and gone to school.
Than IQ. And so as someone who believes they're more EQ than IQ, they can recognize someone who's also more EQ than IQ. I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah.
It's not calling you dumb.
No.
It means you're more emotionally developed
Yeah.
and you're smarter in the emotional part rather than I may be bad at math, but like, you know,
One's a little better.
You're
Yeah.
not smart in the traditional way. You're more smart in a worldly way. What does
yeah,
that
typically
mean?
if you're,
Well,
typically
you've
if
seen a
you're
lot of
better at
stuff.
talking to people, you're more EQ.
Mm-hmm.
Your IQ and you're good at talking to people, you're a serial killer.
Okay, so I want to get into, I think it's verse
You wanna-
17.
You want to wrap up here?
Yeah, it's the last two
Verse 20.
verses.
Yeah.
But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all, pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. Yeah, this was a mouthful. On Monday, we talked about what comes to mind with each of these. What comes to mind when you think of pure, all pure?
Oh, I love this question. I like this question a lot.
Without distraction.
I had oil because it was so pure olive oil.
When Sean,
being the same.
when you tell Sean to think of something pure, Sean and I have two completely different reactions. Sean, what was your answer?
You're making me think about what I just put out 10 seconds ago. Without distraction or the
No
same.
distraction.
Yeah, so Sean's answer is more
Unshared.
of a mindset pure, or like how you talk pure. Sean thinks of more
The
in emotional
unalloyed.
sense. I think of more of like a physical item sense. So when mom said pure, I thought of like a crystal ball with like no imperfections. You know what I mean? It's perfectly clear all the way around. To me, that's what I think of when I think pure. I think of like glass or like marble. I think of something I can see or like touch. You think of something that you can feel, if that makes sense. Because on your
You're
thing was
just
like
fancy.
no distractions. I'm focused. I've got no clutter in my brain.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
I've got no dirt. I've got no extra nonsense that I'm thinking about. I'm solely just this one thing, which is not wrong at all. I think that's 100% true. To
Okay,
be
what about-
you're mentally pure.
Yeah. What about peace loving? Peace loving. What do you
I
think
said
of?
hippies for this one. As I had a joking
Conflict
answer.
avoidant.
Conflict avoidance?
Conflict avoidant is probably a smarter answer than me.
What do
Peace
I
loving?
peace loving? I just think of being in grass, birds,
In grass, yeah.
no buildings.
That's
just
fair.
in nature. Peace loving. Considerate. What comes to mind when you think of considerate?
I always had the biggest issue with considerate.
I
don't
said
know
a
why.
mom. I said a caring mother is considerate.
Yeah. Think putting others first. The first shall be last, the last shall be first. That's considerate. Sean, do you have one? Or are you just gonna agree?
Something will probably come up in like some other prompt.
So the next word was submissive.
This dog over here has a stick in his mouth.
What?
This dog right here has a stick in his mouth. This guy with the tree.
Mouth. Oh.
Yeah, while we've been talking about this, I've been watching people walk by, and a lot of people just have their dogs doing silly stuff. Like earlier, there's this husky and there's this other dog. Did you see the lady in the blue dress that was over here a while ago? Right, there's her and her dog. I forget what her breed was. Like, look right here. There's like a black husky. What is that?
Oh,
You mean the
that's
white
way
dress?
cool.
It's like a black husky. That's cool. It's like a German Shepherd husky. It has a husky tail, but it's got like German Shepherd colors. It's fully black. So that's really cool.
And the inside legs are tan though.
Yeah, the underbelly's like tan. That's a cool dog.
That's
Now
submissive.
that you've given me, now that you've helped delay for me, submissive.
Sorry,
What was the next one?
Wisdom from heaven. It's submissive. How is wisdom submissive or described as submissive?
Not rushing. In the sense on letting it be. A lot of these answers I would just give hippie, pure hippie, peace-loving hippie, submissive hippie. It's just like not like grasping everything, not just like plunging everything they see.
Yeah. It's trusting who you're being submissive to, right? It's not just evil submission. This is from heaven, right? So the person or the God that you're submissive to is worthy of your trust, right? It's wise to be submissive. It's not through fear, right?
By submissive, I would take my driving style. It's sort of just like nobody crashes when nobody goes. So it's just like you can go, I don't care. I'll just
Like
wait
passive.
until my time's there.
Yeah.
Until there's space.
What about full of mercy and good fruit? Wisdom that comes from heaven is full of mercy and good fruit. How's
Bananas.
wisdom full of mercy and good fruit? Yeah.
Banana.
Full of mercy.
Gentle, submissive, and mercy. I kind of feel some sense about well, submissive is an accent for send down, but I also get the sense on gentleness, being sort of like not tart, but being very smooth, either in texture or flavor. In the sense that it's not very sudden.
Yeah.
It's an eventual feeling.
Yeah. Mercy, wisdom is full of mercy. It's again the EQ.
Not easy to overdose.
Yeah. It's being sensitive to other people. When you
Lots
want
of
other
wiggle room.
people, yeah, when you're sensitive but not being taken advantage of, right? There's a balance and the mercy.
That's my biggest issue. I would be as submissive as possible to make sure there's like no conflict. But then for me to be stepped on by like, oh, now you're saying all these other people, what the heck? What did I mean to you? Then I would get very like not peace loving in that situation.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about the rebuking and how people were saying there's care in rebuking, right? There's care in having mercy and not just being overly punitive. Yes, it's okay to have consequences, and yes, it's okay to tell someone they're wrong in a careful way so that they'll appreciate it, so that they'll learn and be better, right?
To point out the gaps.
Yeah, it's all about helping the other person be better. And so then they're going to not just hear the words you suck, but they're going to hear, this is how I can take the lesson and apply it, and then have good fruit, right? As we move forward through the verse, that's the goal, is to help someone be better. In this situation, maybe you can show mercy and have a little consequence, to have it like sting a little, like you're not going to take their phone for a year, but you can take their phone for a day, right? If they're doing something bad with the phone, let's say. So that what are they going to do next time? They're going to do something better or think something better. It's not just to punish, it's to have a better response that they choose to have because they understand the value in it. That's wisdom. Impartial and sincere. Wisdom is impartial and sincere. So I would say wisdom is impartial is because you're choosing people equally in doing what needs to be done. You have responsibilities, right? And each person may not be responsible for the same things because they have different skills, right? So wisdom is impartial. There's no favoritism, right? It's each person is given tasks or thought of based on who that person is. You're not going to expect a 5-year-old to go drive a tractor, right? You're going to find someone that has the skill, right? That's wise. When it comes to sincerity, wisdom from heaven is sincere, right? People can understand that you care about them. That's the higher EQ, right? It's not just your
Do
sincere.
what you say what you mean.
Right. You're not just sincere and you cast your pearls before swine, right? And then people just see you just exposed emotionally all over the place. No, you are sincere. You're not hiding who you are, but you expose it to the right people. So there's wisdom in exposing your sincerity, right? And that's wise, protecting the pearls that you have inside, right?
When they're
And then,
sincere, they're trying to point out, like, I want to help you. I want you to be not in trouble.
right. And then the
And
last
partial,
verse.
it kind of just sounds
Sorry,
like
go ahead.
pure. So I don't know
Yeah.
how to separate those phrases.
Oh,
Because first of all, pure and impartial, it kind of feels like the same situation. Not like taking sides, not being like compromising. It's like you
Yeah.
commit or get out of here, basically.
yeah. The
Just
last
follow through
verse.
at least.
Yeah. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. The last time we discussed this was the we understand the metaphor, reaping and harvesting. You plant the seeds and you understand that it takes time, right? Wisdom takes time. Peace takes time. And Tom texted me. He appreciated the discussion about the tactics that Martin Luther King Jr. and all the civil rights people. He texted me and he's like, at first the conversation was being divisive, let's say, being just a disruptive to society. His definition was they used sitting there, Rosa Parks sitting there was violence. And then it made him think, like, that's not violence. That's not violent. That's not violent. Because he was equating being a disturbance to violence. And it made him rethink that. Like, no, walking down the street and then the response is a dog coming at you because the cops don't like you. That's violence, not the walking, but the dogs and the hoses. That's violence. But just walking down the street because you're protesting something, that's non-violence, right? Sitting at a bench where it says whites only, that's not violence. It's disruptive, but on purpose, it's not violence, right? So, and it took time for people to recognize it's okay for them to be there.
It's
They're
passive
peaceful.
blocking, not active force upon.
Right. You're not saying, I'm going to knock you across the side of the head if you don't let me sit here. That would be violence. They purposefully did not do that. Sit-ins are non-violent because the pure act is you're not knocking people over. You're not driving people over. Right.
Yeah.
In
You're simply
order to
denying
hurt
them.
Yeah. So yeah, that was interesting because we understand that a harvest, in order to reap, you have to plant seeds and it takes time, right? To get righteousness. We got where we are. We are in a good place because we were patient, right? And the peacemakers win in the end, even though it takes longer, unfortunately. So yeah. So we didn't open with prayer, but I want to close with prayer because I think we're about at an hour, close to it. We're longer because we didn't record the first part because we were just chit-chatting.
We've been
we were
like
just
an hour
chit-chatting, so it kind of was
So I'd
separate.
say
So
an
we
hour-
had 30
an hour and
minutes
10.
on just doing our own thing, making it work, and then we had in recording our time.
We need to like set
1
a
hour.
timer, like 1 hour starting right now.
Yeah.
As soon as you
Yeah, I
record.
didn't do that. Yeah, because we were just goofing around at first and I didn't want to record
No,
that
you're good.
part.
No, it's been like an hour and 20 minutes. It's like
Yeah.
8:30, so yeah, we'll wrap up here.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna pray and then it's getting dark anyway. It's like 8:30.
Yeah, we should get going. It's gonna take like 2 hours to get back, so.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll be
So,
back late.
dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this awesome day. Thank you for the traffic in the background. Thank you for the fact that we can still meet together on the Sabbath day and think about you and think about the freedom that we have here at the Independence Mall, freedom that we have to travel, freedom that we have to talk about biblical things, and the fact that our family is close enough to share these philosophical thoughts, the EQ, the IQ, and just take care of each other in this day and age and learn to be better people and give each other the patience and the room to do that. And in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, you guys. Talk to you later.
Cool. Bye. See you tomorrow, Mom. Bye-bye.
Yeah, right there, yeah. See you tomorrow.
She's right there.